Whether people want to admit it or not, if something's going on at home, it's going to affect you in the workplace. And if something's going on in the workplace, it's sometimes going to affect you in the home. We're constantly having to play that juggle, not to bring the business in the home, not to bring home to the business.
You and I both grew up in a seller's market from kind of the bottom, and the wind was at our sails, so everything we did was amplified. We just did a little bit better on everything because money was cheap. People were buying, it's crazy. At times like this, it's way tougher, and you don't know. You look going forward and say, what's next year gonna look like? I thought this administration would have our economy going gangbusters. Well, it hasn't quite looked like that yet. Yeah. I say ignore the market. I say go work your butt off and figure out. We're all making a living now.
And mine is fully renovated.
That's right.
And I'm offering concessions.
You have a better product and a better price, so yours
That's
will
it.
sell.
Yeah. That's how you win
The same
in a
location.
stagnant, flat market, even a buyer's market. You just bring a better product to the table.
There's always a price. Even if the market is a complete wreck, there's a price for this flip, there's a price for this lot, whatever. There's always a price. If I offered you $1, you would say, heck no, you might even hang up on me. If I offered you 7 million, you would say yes. So I believe there is a price, and I believe you know it, because it's not $1 and it's not 7 million. Can you be honest with me and tell me that price in the middle?
Logan Fullmer back in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Logan, welcome back to the show, brother. What brings you into town?
Always a pleasure, guys.
Is this your second home now?
Oh gosh, we were talking about that on the way here. Yeah, you may not know this. I moved out here in 2012 for a summer after I inherited some money. 2011, after I inherited some money, I was gonna start a roofing company, and I was just finally gotten sober again. And within 2 weeks of getting here, I started finding the drugs. I didn't start a roofing company. 4 months later, I'm like, I'm just getting high in this apartment. I got to go home. So I was actually here for a summer.
Really?
But I love it now that
Shout out
there's a
Arizona.
community and friends. Like I can come here and see everybody.
Yeah, you lived here during the worst time.
Yeah.
Right now it's like winter and spring and fall, right? Like that's the best time to live here. That's why a lot of the snowbirds, we're about to accept an offer on a property in a 55 plus community in Mesa, because the snowbirds are starting to move back into Arizona. You know, they move here around November and December.
Oh wow, the weather, yeah.
So I wanted to go over a couple things, man. You got a nice event coming up here in January, right? What are the dates and what are the logistics to that?
January 31st at the Grand Hyatt here in Scottsdale. That's part of why we're here, doing some promotion. Usually we try not to make it like an event. We want it to be a training. I don't want there to be 10 different people, everybody pitching all this different stuff. People have always relied on us to give good quality training so they can leave somewhere and not just see good examples, but like we give like script training, how to do the research. We've got one of our researchers actually showing people like exactly how to get deed records, docket searches. I mean, we've got a sales guy who will do seller psychology and talk through scripting, because what we do is so different. It's buying really distressed property with all these messes. So that whole day of 8 hours, we are arming people with like every single tool they need. Some people need a little coaching after that, but I can't tell you how many people I have testimonials that I'm launching all over the internet right now that have come to that and gone out and started doing deals. Wow. So it's January 31st here in Scottsdale.
January 31st. I wanted to ask you, right, from as a business owner and person that's online that's been running events since 2018, what is refreshing about your event versus plenty of other kind of real estate events? What's one of the biggest difference makers that people can expect?
The biggest difference maker is a lot of people don't understand and don't know this business. And there's been so much talk about all the other real estate strategies in the last 10 years. People are very familiar with them. When you tell them about house flipping or wholesaling, people are very familiar with it. When you talk about this, people are unfamiliar. Yeah. And that means very few people are doing it. And there are markets all over the place that no one is working. You could literally go to Georgia right now, Atlanta, and destroy because there's no competition.
Wow. So it's very niche.
Yes.
Very niche, very unique, right?
But it's taken 10 years for us to figure this out, but we've got it distilled into a way where we can educate people in a short amount of time and they can spin up fast and run.
I feel like it kind of feels like you're pioneering that niche, right? It feels that way. And I'll give you an example. I remember when we came pretty hot into the industry many moons ago, right? What we brought to the table back then was the business aspect of real estate wholesaling specifically. Systems, processes, hiring, you know what I mean?
I was telling them that on the way here. That's how y'all broke out so hard so fast.
That was the big thing we brought nationally across the entire country, right?
From hustler to business.
Yeah, hustler, wholesaling was just always a hustle. And then, we came in with that business mindset, and a lot of, I think we helped pioneer that aspect of it. A lot of people came through our trainings. Pinetta back in 2018.
Hey, I'll get you back to the show in just a second. I just wanted to come on here real quick and encourage you that if you are a business owner that's looking for top level coaching and a great community because you're experiencing challenges in your business, all you got to do is click the link right in the description and we'll reach out with more information. Now back to the show.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing guys like that who you help train and you watch them go and build a formidable operation. Yeah. And as weird as it sounds, it's almost hard to accept this, but like that came from what y'all built.
Well, praise God. And, and the guys. Another big guy that came through our training, Pace Morby, he was doing, what was he doing back then? He was doing,
he was Homevestors. He was with Homevestors.
Yeah. So Pinetta called me. He's like, dude, because he was just flipping, right? And actually, if we were selling him deals in Vegas, so he was just like, bro, how do I do what you guys do? And that's when I just said, hey, bro, we'll come to the boot camp that we got going on, right? So after that, it was great to see them, start their own. They pioneered their own movements, right? So after that, what I saw, right, Pinetta hit it hard and he hit it big on the media side of things. He went crazy, YouTube and TikTok, right? And then Pace hit it big on the community building side of things.
He hit the streets real heavy.
Yeah, he was like, hey, who wants to go for a ride in my Prius? And I mean, he did that for 2 years, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, now what I'm seeing from you, right? What I'm seeing from you that's very refreshing is you're bringing in your own unique skill set in a niche type of industry now, a niche business within a huge industry that has all kinds of different verticals.
Yep.
Right? Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what's your goal for what you're doing? Because I know you're growing a community now. You're growing a community, right? What's your goal? Like, what's your ultimate goal? And I'll give you an example. We're building a community. We're building a business community, and I'm already flipping with my community, right? I got what's called the five driving principles. The 5 driving principles of my community is personal development, business development, financial literacy, community, and legacy, right? So my goal for our community is to help everybody continue to make a whole bunch of money in the business, right? Continue to develop ourselves as fathers, as husbands, as wives, as mothers, as human beings. Financial literacy, start flipping our money, investing our money, creating wealth together, right? The community aspect is connecting to other like-minded people in the community.
Yeah.
And then legacy, right? Start building our legacy. So what is your grand vision for the community that you're building?
I would probably say you did a good job explaining. I don't know that we're all that different. The pride that I get in it is that it worked for us and it was so special and it literally changed me, my partners, my wives, my family, everyone that works with us in our office and their families, all their lives in a big way. But as people come through our program, obviously selfishly, I earn money along the way, but we get to give them so much more than they get, which is why I feel proud to give a value like that.
For sure.
I don't know. There's not any better way that I feel like you can earn money. Selling iPhones if you're Steve Jobs is great because you get to build a beautiful product. Maybe he can do the same thing. Maybe that's a bad example, but I feel like that we deliver something so personally to people that is so remarkably changing so quickly that I feel really good about it, and I feel no guilt earning a lot of money along the way.
You don't
fair.
I was gonna say you don't give a man a fish, you teach a man how to fish, and I think that's where that fulfillment comes in.
You know what? That's a good point. One thing we got into coaching and like educating and sharing this stuff, we thought, okay, we'll get some JV deals, earn some money. But I started finding a lot of folks' success rate in their real estate coaching programs wasn't really high, and we just started with, if I do that a lot and I get bad reputation, people won't come. And I thought, how do we do the best we can to make it as high rate of success possible? So we ran blind surveys from our last 2 groups, 70 and 80% success rates on a group of 40 or 50 people.
Yeah.
That means they were either already bought the deals, had already sold the deals, or had X amount of hundreds of thousands in equity by the time our 4-month program was over. Wow. And we had rates like that. I'm like, we did it. Let's make this big.
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah. When I transitioned out of just the acquisition side of things into business development and the education space with these guys, it's, for me, I was chasing that gratitude, right? That was my high.
Feels good.
Yeah. So I would go and I would have clients or sellers sell me their property, distressed property. They'd cry on the phone. They'd call me, God sent and such a blessing. And I would get off and then that was it. It was a transaction and it was done. And I was like, man, that felt so good.
Right.
But it's gone now. And now I got to go chase the next high. Right. So I was like, okay. And then when I transitioned over here, I was like, okay, if I can help somebody get their first deal and then they can go get their next deal and then their next deal. If I come across them, if I'm on vacation somewhere and I come across them, that gratitude, that instant hit of gratitude is going to come right back to me.
They love
right?
you so much forever.
Forever.
They did something
Yeah.
so important. There are very few times you can show people how much they matter. And when it happens that time, dude, it's forever.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like also, brother, it even though it wasn't like your intention, it helps with legacy too. It really helped. Think about it, right? Like we didn't ever expect to be able to help people at the level that we've helped. We've helped a lot of people make a lot of money over the years, And what happens is now you have family everywhere in the country.
That's true.
Yeah.
I go to LA, someone's picking me up. I go to Atlanta, someone's picking me up. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Wherever I go, just like you come to Phoenix, hey, I'm stopping by, here, I'm stopping by. Let's
Open
do
arms.
a show. Let's do this, right? I feel like that aspect of it, brother, where you're building real bonds, real relationships for life for the most part, if it's the right community, right? I feel like that helps a lot towards the legacy factor of things. Would you agree?
I agree. On the business side, absolutely. The moment you said legacy, it made me think of kids, family. And while I'm really careful that I don't want to just dump a bunch of money on my kids one day, what they get to see is us talking about making decisions, making our own way, being business owners, being fully responsible. And they get to learn about this like around our house. Me and my wife, like some people have lots of division, we don't have division on that stuff. And our kids get to learn those lessons through us every day about how we work with other people, how we learn to make decisions about not screwing people, like all these things. They're getting to learn that too.
Amen.
So there's this big community out here, but I think our kids get so much, they don't even have a clue yet what they're getting.
Yeah. And I think that one of the most important parts about the legacy aspect of it is, there's a saying, it's like, not all money is good money. So you want to make sure
In the beginning, you need every dollar. After a while, you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Well, what I mean is, you want to make sure the people in the community match your personality, or not your personality, but the way you see life, right? Like integrity. Like if you have people in the community that don't have integrity, now that's like a poison, and that poison is going to grow and infect the community. So you gotta be very careful with who you allow in. I mean, I've seen this guy refuse $100,000. Someone's like, "I'll pay you $100,000 for mentorship," but he's like, "You know what? You're not the guy. You're not the guy."
Sometimes they're degenerates, and they're respectfully, right? And I think we're
Respectful degenerates.
yeah, right. It happens, and you don't want those type of people in your community, or you don't want those type of people within proximity of you anyway.
He's a part of you now.
Yeah,
Warren Buffett says you can't do a good deal with a bad person.
That's right.
I don't care what the money is. There's problems, and you can't get out of them
100%.
because you're beholden to them because they
how old are you right now?
44.
44. Okay, great. Actually, you can attest to this, right? They
Here comes an old man joke.
No. Listen, I back in 2022, I hired a COO, a chief operating officer, that had international experience. We relocated him from the East Coast, wherever he was living. I don't
Carolina.
know. No, he wasn't North. He was up north.
Massachusetts.
We relocated him from Massachusetts to here, right? Learned a lot from the guy. He was here with us for about a year, and then he started asking for equity and things like that, and it just wasn't making sense. So then we parted ways, right? We parted ways. But some of the things, he was 50 years old. I remember him telling me, and I was around 37 at that time, and I remember him always mentioning to me, because I was in my later 30s, and he goes, "Hey, Carlos," he's like, "Man, you're a puppy." He's like, "You're a puppy." He goes, "Life starts at 40. Life starts at 40. He said that by the time I hit 40, or when I hit 40, right, my level of discernment is going to be, so amplified because of all the losses and the wounds and the backstabbing and the failed ventures and so much. Like everything prior to 40, they say is like you're split testing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Right? So I wanted to talk to you about that. Now that you're in your 40s, what has changed? Has the vision never been clear now? Are you more strategic with how you move now that you're in your 40s? What has changed now that you're in your 40s?
You did a good job of saying it. Since I've been in my 40s, discernment has changed. Where you're going does become more clear. When you're younger, you're trying everything. You're just trying to put it all together. You just don't have the experience. The wisdom isn't there. And today, the decisions you make, like you made a comment a minute ago, not all money is good money. When I was younger, I would do business with some of the worst people as long as I protected myself because I needed to earn and I didn't have much. You know, and today, guys get so mad in my office. I tell them the best deal I ever did is the one I didn't do. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. And they're like, but I want the commission. I want to try. You get to a point where you realize what matters and you have some miles on the tires. And you see things remarkably differently. But when you're 30 and some 50-year-old guy's telling you that,
Yeah, you don't get it.
You're like, shut up.
Yeah, it's kind of like you know, it's almost like when people are telling you when you're about to have a baby, right? When you're about to have a baby for the first time, you've never been a father, and everybody's telling you how much your life's gonna change.
Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't make
Same.
sense to you, right? Until you actually have the baby. And then you become a father, and now, you know, you're learning more about patience, and you're right. Your heart gets bigger, you know.
Changing that first diaper.
Yeah.
That tar that comes out, it's like, bro, that's
Nerve-wracking,
life changing.
yeah.
Like, is it supposed to be like that?
Well, I don't know what you feed your son.
You
right?
didn't
But-
change your first diaper
Yeah, my daughters. Yeah.
at the hospital.
Yeah,
You
but
sure about that?
yeah, I think I did.
Both
my
the
wife's
kids,
never.
yeah.
My
It
wife
is
doesn't
tar
like
the
changing
first
diapers.
time.
It is tar. The first
Really?
time.
Yeah. My wife did not do the diapers. You know that. She does. I had to
really?
do most of
Damn.
the diapers. Yeah, I had
Don't
to
say
do-
that in front of my wife, please.
Yeah, I had to change
Ideas.
most of the diapers.
I'm
in
gonna
my-
fact check.
yeah.
I'm gonna fact
You
check on
can.
Christmas. We'll see.
You can.
Yeah.
So, I guess the point that I'm making is you're just never fully prepared when you jump into business, right? And that's what happens, right? And
That's
you're-
part of the beauty, because if you were fully prepared and mature and had it all together, I don't know if we would have done the stuff we've done and taken the risk and gone
that's
after
right.
and worked so hard. We did have to do that. Today, it's great that we've built on that. And I know specifically, you've told me times where you had to do a lot more than you really thought. And, you know, family would say, well, what's going on? We need more of your time. You're looking around like, who am I really right now? I need to realign what really matters to me. Stop spending this way, behaving this way, doing these things. All these things change. So I think you got to go through that. And if you don't, you might not be that good in your 40s.
Yeah, you know, I tell young people all the time, you know, people in their 20s and 30s, as mature as some of these young men are, right? There's only certain things that you're gonna learn by allowing life to happen and time to pass. You know, right? I don't care how many books you read. I don't care how much money you lose. Again, I think by the time you're 40 years old, life is going to teach you so much. I think by then, I would say 70, 80% of all the things that you should not do, right? You've learned them by the time you're 40. And if you think about it, right? If you align the timelines, if you think of a book like Think and Grow Rich, right? He said that, you know, Napoleon Hill in that book stated that most millionaires became millionaires after the age of 40. And it makes a lot of sense if you think about it from a wisdom and discernment and, you know, trial and error type of timeline, you know?
If you know that when you're 20 or 25, it might seem like such a long road. It might be discouraging, but at that age, I wasn't thinking about those things. I was just trying to go and make something work. But it's interesting to look on it backwards and say, wow, that took 10 or 15 years. That's a lot of work.
I think
If
it
I'd
would.
have known it'd been that much work, I don't know if I'd have done it.
Well, I think it would be helpful, right? If you're 20 and you're like, look, I got 20 years to build this.
If you'll listen.
You know, and
No
like,
one
and
tell-
like
no
you
one can
actively
tell
have
me
a
anything at
plan. You know,
20.
that's
Yeah.
different, right? Yeah, true.
Well,
You might have been more wise and listened. Man,
But that's part of the
No,
problem
I
with
was
these
not.
young. Yeah.
I
Part of
didn't
the
start
problem with
reading
these,
till I was 30, like 34.
Same.
part of the problem with these young men too, right, is they don't understand patience. You get what I'm saying? I'll give you a small example, right? Here, I'll give you a small example, right? I'll just point out some of the young men in the group, right? One of our one-on-one guys here, he has a construction company, does multiple seven figures. He's 27 years old, right?
He's different.
My media guy, he's 26, 27, right? My sales guy upstairs, Z, one of our best sales guys here, 22 years old. Very disciplined. The guy just ran 10 miles yesterday for breakfast.
So disciplined, yeah.
And he just did a 50-mile marathon in San Francisco last week. Like, this guy is one of the most disciplined, studied human beings that I've ever met. But guess what? he lacks patience.
Well,
lacks patience.
some things. I mean, he's abstinent. He hasn't like dove into that. You know?
Oh no, I apologize. He lacks patience when it comes to his development. He wants to be Tony Robbins tomorrow.
Yeah, oof, yeah.
And Tony Robbins didn't become Tony Robbins, right, until he put in 30 to 50 years worth of Tony Robbins work. You know what I mean? And sometimes I have to redirect that young man and remind him of what the mission is.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things I'm talking about when it comes to there are just certain things that life is going to teach you. Patience is one of them. Agreed?
That's right.
Talk about your patience. What are some of the things that you've learned over the years where you're just like, dude, I just got to be patient? Give me some, it can be anything, personal or business.
I would say probably the patience is more with the people. In the beginning, I wanted everyone to perform the way I wanted them. It has to be perfect. You have to do it right now. It's this way. And when you look across like an organization, for example, and a family the same way, everyone's not going to do it exactly. You're going to have your outliers. You're going to have your base hitters. You're going to have some at the bottom, and you have to work through all that. But you got to have patience with every one of them. And you made a comment earlier where you talked about getting patience with business or with a child, a baby, and it helped you develop in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, having kids allowed me to be a much better manager and business partner because I had to learn how to do that. And I'd start having these realizations when I'd go to work, and I realized this kid is behaving like my child right now.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, okay, hold on, step back. How do I deal with a kid? And I literally deal with like grown men or high paid people or business partners, like making $1 million a year.
Oh, yeah.
I'm dealing with them like I'm dealing with my 4-year-old, and it's working.
Yeah.
It's time for a nap.
Are you hungry? Have you had lunch yet?
Yeah.
It makes sense. It makes sense. And, you know, shame on any man out there, any business owner that pours everything into managing, you know, the people in his business, but doesn't give his home that same, you know, margin and respect. Right? You get what I'm saying? Because I see that a lot happen with businessmen and CEOs. I mean, if you think about some of the billionaires that we are aware of that are very famous billionaires like Elon Musk, brother, it's like, hold on the business side, I'm a huge fan of Elon Musk.
On the home
the guy's
side,
changing the world, right? But if you go to, you know, is this house in order? I think he has like 7 children from
I was about to say which house, which family.
That's what I'm saying. So he has what, like, is it 11 children from 7 different women or something? I stopped counting, right? But you see that a lot in business. You see a lot of men, you see a lot of CEOs that treat their business like their child because it is.
Wow.
But then, you know, treat their children, they neglect their children. You know what I mean?
I specifically remember my wife would say to me a lot of times, stop treating me like you would someone at the office. And that personality would continue. And I would say over the years, that's probably changed a lot. So there's a much more like balanced demeanor there. But that was a big translational issue that I think had to happen through some maturity a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's easy for us as Ben too to just bring that in because when we come home and there's issues at home,
Right.
what are we trying to do? Let's just
the
solve it
problem,
real quick.
yeah.
And as husbands, sometimes you can't be the solving. They have to solve it on their own. So you just kind of be there, listen to the conversation, be an ear or a shoulder for them to cry on, and it's definitely a tightrope walk for sure.
Sometimes you have to listen to the mistake for 2 hours before you get to the solution. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
If you think about it, right, in business, yeah. Again, in business, you know, we're forced to have patience. We're forced to be professionals, right? We're forced to have to treat people with respect.
Oof.
And again, imagine if you don't do that at home. Imagine if you don't. You should be doing that times 10 at home, because
That's right.
if something were to happen and you're on your deathbed, right? Who's going to be around that table? I'm sorry, around that bed.
Not your employee.
Who's going to be around that bed during your last hours? It's not going to be the employees. They're just going to get another job, right? It's your family. Those are the people that are going to take care of you. Those are the people that are going to be there during your toughest times. You know what I mean? And that's the reason why I just bring that up, because as men and as CEOs, we lose track of that very easily, because it does require so much from us on the business side. Right. You know what I mean? Right? You're the warrior, you're the problem solver, you're the leader, you're the manager, you know? You're the provider. So that's all I'm saying on that side, man. And I know you've had to deal with your fair share of balancing that out over the years. Correct?
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's something that I feel like I always will fight with. I feel like I've improved significantly, but probably not sometimes without some really hard lessons specifically at home, specifically from my wife. She's like, this ain't going to fly. This doesn't work like this. And initially I take that as like defensive. Why are you talking to me like that? This isn't going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
But when you hear it enough, and if you're not an idiot, like you think, and you say, okay, maybe there's something to this. Okay, let me chew on it. Let me see it when I'm calm. Oh, okay, I think I need to do
You're
something
right.
different here.
Yeah. And then the kids,
They love to hear that.
the kids amplify that too, because then if the mom's saying it, then the kids are starting to say it too.
Yeah,
and it's
that's
like,
trouble.
Yeah, it's all together. It's all together. They're little amplifiers.
yeah, they're
I know-
little surround sound speakers. That's
I
what
noticed.
they are.
I noticed the thing with kids is like, you know, people were always saying these. Oh, the terrible twos, the terrible twos. And I'm like, you know what? There's no terrible twos. There's just you just don't know how to talk to a 2-year-old. That's what the issue is. Like, because, you know, for instance, let's say my son, right? So I'm not going to ever tell him, hey, we got to go right now. Stop doing what you're doing right now. Imagine you're doing something and then someone just runs to the room and tells you, stop doing it right now. Come with me. Like, that's a power trip. I think some parents do. They power trip and try to like boss their children instead of why not just say, hey, we're leaving in 15 minutes. Hey, we're leaving in 10 minutes. Hey, we're leaving in 5 minutes. Remember, no crying when we leave in 5 minutes. What are we going to do? We're leaving in 5 minutes. Okay. There's never a problem.
That's the human development of the brain. I just watched a video about this the other day. Is that when kids at that age, if they're already doing something, to get them to stop doing what they're doing and just turn course immediately, their brains can't process that fast.
Yeah.
So you have to literally step by step. Hey, put the game down. Look at me.
Wow.
We're gonna get up and go, right? But if you just come in and rush, you're like, hey, just go. Their brains don't compute. And then when you say it louder, then they just get in fight or flight mode, and they just either start crying or, you know.
And that's
chaos
why
ensues.
what you said is so important, because you would never do that to an employee. You would never be like, do this, you know. You coach them, you help them, and then people go and try to boss their kids around and not coach them and help them. But this is your blood, your flesh.
You
You're
were
gonna
there when
treat them less. It's
my
weird.
7-year-old. Remember my 7-year-old? My wife was trying to get her to go inside.
Yeah.
Sienna.
Yeah.
Remember
She
that?
was,
You were there.
yeah, she was telling you to tell her, and you're like, just
Yeah.
give it 5 minutes.
And she's like, babe, tell her to go inside. And then I said, hey, baby, listen. I said, hey, in 5 minutes, okay, I'm going to leave you out here for 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, you're going to have to go inside, okay? And sure thing. She's like, okay. And then boom, 5 minutes. She's like, Dad, has it been 5 minutes? It became a game to her, right? And then I'm like, okay, baby, it's been 5 minutes. You know, say goodnight to everybody. Sure thing. What does she do?
She said goodnight.
Those are two different ways men and women handle stuff. I also realize sometimes it's easy for me because I have a little bit more authority in the house just because I'm a male figure and the dad. When it doesn't work for mom, she's like, I'm done with this, you do it. And I just walk over and I'm like, all right, dude, here's the deal. Actually, I said it to my son yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was yesterday. She handed him the phone. I was like, get me on the phone with him. He didn't want to talk to you. Tell him, get me on the phone or I'm taking his phone for a month. And he knows I do not fuck around. He was on the phone like that.
What a
Dad,
penalty.
I said, Dad, you need to talk to her calmly. I don't care how wrong she was, how unhappy she was. You need to fix it right now. You need to go to apologize to my mom, apologize to your mom, and fix it. Do you understand?
Wow.
Yes, Dad. It was like that.
How old is he?
Rod's in 8th grade, 6'12".
Oh, yeah.
That's great. Wow.
Yeah, 13.
13.
Now.
Oh,
The ages keep moving.
Oh, yeah. No, 13.
There's 4 of them. I don't remember anybody's
New
age.
teenager.
Yeah, yeah.
New teenager.
Good
Right?
kid,
So
but the authority of the father sometimes really can matter
100%.
if you don't abuse it.
it's very healthy. It's very healthy. And I feel like we don't have to demand anything, right? We don't demand respect. We just kind of command respect, right?
If you're able to earn it,
Yeah,
then you
we
got
earn
it.
Exactly. Here, the way that I'll pivot from that is one of my mentors taught me this. He said, "Hey, man, you know, don't be the type of man that comes home after a hard day's worth of work, and then you give your family the rest of you and not the best of you." Right. So when he said that to me back in 2019, I started making those changes. Where now, you know, some of the rules that I have is I finish my conversations in the driveway or in the garage before I walk in through the garage door. Because I walk in through the garage door, my children say hello. You know, sometimes my 7-year-old still runs to hug me.
Ta-da, yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, some of the things that I've noticed prior to me learning that, right? I remember coming in through the door with the phone in my ear, and then my daughter's trying to come to me and say hello. and I'm just like
Heisman.
Heisman. Yeah.
Stiff
You
arm
know,
'em.
and they don't deserve that.
It's horrible.
So I started making those changes close to 7 years ago now.
That's a
You know,
big
so
difference. You
it
have
was
to
a big-
really think about that. There are times where I struggle. I can think of walking in the last couple of weeks in the phone with my backpack on the phone, and I'm
You
out in
did?
the parking lot talking. Before I walk back in, I'm like, all right, let me
Yeah.
try to get this out of the way. But yeah, it's hard
Yeah.
to balance that.
Yeah. And you know, I have another rule: no business in the house. You know, no business in the house. I just don't do business in the house. If I'm going to take a business call, I'm in the backyard, or I'm in the front yard, or I'm in the driveway.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not doing business in the house, and I don't do business when I drive them to school either. That's their time. You
That's
know what
important.
I mean? I've been
That's
driving
really
them to school all eighth grade. I got a 13-year-old, 8th grader. I've been driving her to school since she started school. You know what I mean? So these are just small changes that you can make, and guess what? By making those changes, now you're able to fulfill your, you know, with your family on the spiritual side and emotional side. And now you actually become a better CEO. You become a better businessman because you're not feeling any type of guilt or shame for not being there for your children.
It's like you're an EV, right? You're an electric vehicle. You go back home and you're supposed to charge when you're there. But if your house is in chaos, you go back and you just left chaos to meet more chaos, and then you start to deplete, and then you start to just, you know, short circuit, and
Yep.
then your business starts to fail, and you're not conscious on the decisions that you're making at home or at work anymore, and it becomes just a constant struggle.
Big mess.
Yeah.
Whether people want to admit it or not, right? Cohesively, you know, they run hand in hand for business owners. You know, if something's going on at home, it's going to affect you in the workplace. And if something's going on in the workplace, you know, it's sometimes going to affect you in the home,
Yeah.
you know, and we're constantly having to play that, you know, that juggle between both, you know, not to bring the business in the home and not to bring home to the business.
You know, so I look at our older kids are becoming adults, and I look at them far differently than I do younger kids. We learned a lot of lessons with the older ones that we're now applying to the little ones. And it's interesting when I look at the little ones sometimes, I just think y'all have no idea what mama and daddy have to carry and do and be responsible for. And they're just like, they just want us to decorate that tree with them and help them find the right channel on YouTube and bring all the pillows and then pick them back up when they're done playing. That's what they think is the most important. They don't have a clue what we deal with to get to that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's shocking because you just show up as like, okay, I'm just going to be,
Beautiful, yeah.
all they know about is your dad right now.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
know about all that other stuff.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
just being that guy right then is a really narrow focused little thing.
What do you do for obviously to keep your sanity and keep your peace, right? I know there's things like Carlos loves to go to Sedona. He goes up there quite frequently. I join him quite often as well too. But what do you like to do to just kind of decompress and recharge?
Our weekends, we don't travel as much as a lot of people do. Our weekends and our home are like our place. Everyone's just watching TV, laying around. We're admittedly very unproductive on the weekends. While we have birthdays and all these things to get to, we probably spend a higher percentage of time being with our family, just being lazy on weekends. And that's like and I'll admit, I grab my phone some here and there, and towards the end of Sunday, I'm doing it less. And then when Monday starts, like, go. And it's a totally different mode again. And that's like a time for us to just like, that's why we've chosen to make our house more of what we want. And that's a bigger focus in like
I
our
love it.
life.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. It's
Would you say there's an addition to that or no? Did I describe that well? Would you say that's like a recharge? Like
yeah, you made it your own, you know, you made your home like your own vortex. You
her
know?
recharge is shopping and being with us on the weekends, and then my recharge is being with us on the weekends and running sometimes.
I'm so glad my wife's recharge is no longer shopping.
Yeah.
I don't know how to get out of that.
There used to be like 30 Amazon packages in the front door.
You couldn't
It's
get
a
it.
lot
You
less
couldn't get in
now.
your house. It was like a minefield.
It was like, whoa, dude, like what's going on here?
So tell me about that. How did that shift out of?
We
Because I
actually
don't think you need all the extra stuff.
no, you really don't. Honestly, you know what? This
Optimal Prime did.
This year we are becoming more minimalist. You know, we went from like 5 cars to 2 cars. You see what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
We're getting rid of a bunch of stuff we don't need. You know, I even cleared out like an old storage that I had for 13 years.
Wow.
I was paying
Jesus.
$250 every month
my
for
God.
13 years. I gave him like 40 grand. But it was like my old life, like
That happens.
prior to having my daughter, that was my storage from my young kind of single days.
Oh wow.
Right. So I saw like the affliction shirts and the skulls and, and I just dumped everything, man.
Shit,
Flannel,
those
moved
have
on.
actually come back around now. You could probably sell them for.
Are
a
they coming
profit.
back around?
You got the flannels. You got the whole
Yeah.
flannels.
So no, but
Beanies.
again, detaching from all that and stuff like that. So we're becoming more minimalist. We're not. We want to build. She's 38. I'm 41. We want to build together. We want to be able to pass something on to our children. Right. I believe that what we are passing on to our children right now is the best thing that you can pass on. We're teaching them all the things that we weren't taught. Right.
Wisdom.
That's number one. Everything else is a bonus. Right.
Yeah.
We'll build, build businesses, maybe, build a portfolio, whatever we can pass on, great. But on the mental, spiritual, and emotional side and physical side, we're doing our best to pour into them every single day,
Yeah, it's big.
feel like
right
that's
now.
important.
We spend Christmas Day together, and all of our kids open presents. And there was a Christmas not too long ago
Oh, I remember that.
where
Yeah.
we just looked at each other, and we were like, "Wow!" Like,
We were disgusted.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was a bit disgusting. Our
Yeah.
kids had to take a lunch break from opening gifts,
Yeah.
and it was like, we.
You know what, though?
we
That's
opened-
gluttony.
Yeah,
I bet y'all probably
Gluttony.
didn't have the ability. Y'all didn't have that experience when y'all were kids. And as you start to earn, things get better. You want to give it to them. And then you're like, whoa.
You
This isn't
overdo
what I
it.
thought it was. Let's
Yeah.
reel this back.
yeah.
It's not even healthy.
That's
man.
and that's what it was, right? Because we didn't.
Because
have
I
that
think what
growing
it'll do is go the other direction. You'll start to ruin children by trying to give them what you didn't have.
Yeah.
And you don't think that's the case until you see it. And you're like, what did I do?
And it's focused too. It's like, I mean, the way I'm with my kid, my son, he's a little bit older now, but like I tell him, I'm like, hey, Santa Claus is great. I know you want to hug Santa Claus, but we're celebrating the birth of Jesus. That's what this day is about. That's what Christmas is about. So I just want to instill it in his mind at such a young age, so he understands. And he doesn't think that we're just admiring the fat guy with the beard, like it's
By
not.
the
That's
way,
not what it's about.
Shabbat Shalom. He's Jewish.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm Catholic.
No, I'm joking with you. I'm joking.
I mean,
joking.
I was like, I can't let
Jesus
this
is
go
a
too
Jew.
far.
Happy
You can
Hanukkah.
misspell my last name, but not that.
I just wanted to mess with them a little bit.
I mean,
Anyway.
we're all Jews that believe in Christ.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I haven't read that book yet. Anyway, right? It's
Called the Old Testament.
Hold on. Calling me a Judeo-Christian is kind of an oxymoron if you think about
I'm not saying Judeo-Christian. I'm just saying.
it. All right. So let's pivot. Man.
Everyone that wrote the Bible was a Jew, bro.
Let's pivot. Right. Real estate market. Here's what I've seen. Right. We've been in this game since 2013. But prior to that, I was on the lending side of things before the crash. I worked for a mortgage broker back in the day. My first biggest check came when I was like 19 years old, and I refinanced a $400,000 home. I had a check for like $9,300.
Dude.
At
At 19?
Yeah, I was in the mortgage business at a very fresh out of high school. I was an early bloomer, early riser, right? And anyway, and then obviously the market took a turn, in 07, and then by 08, it was completely 70% here in Arizona. The values of home have been reduced by 70%. And then we started working our way back up, right? And we continuously climb, and then it exploded during, I'm going to say COVID. You can say COVID now, right?
Yeah, I think you
Okay,
can.
we won't get censored. So, it exploded during COVID. And then in 2022, I had 18 flips, September 2022. And then the market corrected itself, and we got caught. 12 of them we sold at a loss, 6 of them we made some money, right? So that was rough. Where do you see the market right now? Because I've seen a lot of people struggle in the real estate industry more than I've ever seen in my entire 13 years of being in this game. What are you seeing?
Buyer seller demand is not balanced, and it's not a seller's market. Like you and I both grew up in a seller's market from kind of the bottom, and the wind was at our sails. So everything we did was amplified. We just did a little bit better on everything because money was cheap. People were buying. It was crazy. At times like this, it's way tougher, and you don't know. Like you look going forward and say, what's next year going to look like? I don't know. I thought this administration would have our economy going gangbusters. Well, it hasn't quite looked like that yet.
Yeah.
Fed's lowering interest rates because that's their big tool to move things forward and get things popping again. It's scary and it's really hard to forecast. But the cool thing that I keep telling people right now is if you can figure out how to just do okay and make a good living and be smart, if you can do that now, you'll be just like the rest of us when the market does recover, and it will, because it always does. It's a 7 to 9 year cycle every time. Go look at history. When it does recover, you will have the wind at your sails. You'll feel like a king, and you will kill it.
Yep.
But now is the time you got to figure that out. So for us, we're aware of the market. Another thing I think people don't understand is everybody says, I can't wait till the market crashes, so I'm going to buy all this stuff and kill it. No, you're not, dude. Unless you're worth $100 million, you're not. I said the same stuff. I'm not worth $100 million.
Yeah.
It didn't happen like that for me when things cooled off. We still had to work hard. We still had to plan. We still had to reinvest. So we all do better when the market's hotter. There's a very tiny bit of society that does what I said. It's not us yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
So
I say ignore the market. I say go work your butt off and figure out. We're all making a living now.
Yeah.
Amen. I agree.
I like that.
I do.
You're right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That's what I was telling Sal the other day. I said, hey, brother, because he was like, I don't want to pick up a flip unless we're going to make $80,000. I said, what? He's like, well, Alex downstairs. I said, no. You know what I mean? Like nobody's doing. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, I believe that the more experienced investors, the lifetime, not the hustlers, right? The lifers in the real estate space on the investing side, those are the ones that are surviving right now. Those are the ones that are still moving. I mean, we just accepted an offer for our most expensive flip, Witten. And you know, that was a good sign for me because that property, right? We listed that property at like 530. We're kind of operating in affordable housing, like 550K and under.
Isn't that crazy that that's what that is these days?
Yeah, that's where we are. Wow. That's where we're flipping. You know what I mean? Because that's where I'm going to have my biggest opportunity to try to move some houses because people can't afford the $750,000 homes. You know what I mean? Right. Right now, the way, you know, in Arizona is very hyper local, like zip code to zip code. You may have a seller's zip code, right? And then you'll have a buyer's zip code.
Okay.
It's literally hyper local. This market is hyper local. So the way that I run deals, and I don't just run deals by myself now, even though I do, I run deals with my 2 acquisition guys, and we all have to align, right, on a specific exit price. And then the criteria has to be met. Like we calculate 3% seller concessions, even though, right, we may not need it, depending on the zip code, I still put it in there. I calculate 6 months worth of holding costs, even though we may not need it, I still put it in there. See what I'm saying?
Remember you talk about all those lessons you learned over the last 10 years?
They're right here.
Yep.
That's it right there.
Is.
Yeah.
Because you didn't do it before, and now you know you better or you'll be done.
Because in 2022, when I got caught with my pants down,
Yep.
right, that's what happened. So I'm like, okay, no, in order for me to buy a flip now, all of these boxes have to check off for me to be able to do it, for me to commit.
You're looking at all of the risk, all the things that could be risk, and if they all happen, you're still safe. And
Yes,
if some of them
right,
don't happen, you might have a little bit of margin growth instead of margin fade, so you're very covered.
Yeah.
That's why people, I mean, real investors say you make your money on the buy. You know, you don't try to make the money on, the prices are going to go up. You know, that's like gambling at that point.
That's a huge premise in our business because we're trying to buy for 10 to 50 cents on the dollar. And when the market cools off, we usually sell for about 95 cents on the dollar. That way we're cheaper than everybody else and we move faster even.
Yeah, it's great.
But as the market's cooled off, we're selling 70 to 80 cents on the dollar. But since we're in those for 10, 20, 30, 50 cents on the dollar, we've got room to move the price down. They still move quickly, even if a neighborhood's slow.
Right.
And that's the answer. We've made all of our money when we bought. We usually don't do value add with remodeling and tenants and all that.
Yeah.
So when we get out, we've got all the room. If we need to slash that price by half, we can break even.
Right. Wow.
And it's really hard to do that, but that's why we're willing to put in the extra work for our unique acquisition strategy.
Yeah.
What I know you're in San Antonio, right?
Yeah.
What are you seeing down there in Texas? Because I've seen, from what I've heard and from what I've seen, right? It's not San Antonio specifically, but like DFW for sure. It looks like it's a little stagnant out there. What have you seen?
It is. You can look at the big markets, Southern California or all of California, a lot of Texas, Florida, you guys. It's really flat.
Yeah.
Buyers have a lot of opportunity. They are aggressive with their offers, they're aggressive with their concessions, and you just have to play with it.
I mean, think about it. Oh, by the way, this property that I sold, they wanted 6% concessions.
What'd you give them?
3.
You're like, we budgeted 3, you can get 3.
Yeah, that was wild.
But they still asked for 6.
Brother, 6% on 530.
Go back to right after COVID when things exploded or before COVID happened. It was the other way around. We'll
Yeah.
offer above ask. How much did they offer? We'll beat it.
Yes.
And now they're like,
Crazy.
I'll take 6% concessions.
They wanted $31,800 in concessions.
What was wrong with the house?
Not
They just fixed it all up.
They
we
just remodeled the
renovated.
entire thing. They just wanted
We
it
put
to
like
happen.
70 grand into the deal.
And we want to change the floors. We
There's
don't like
nothing
the color.
to change.
They were just taking an opportunity.
For sure, for
Yeah.
sure. But that should tell you that's where the market is.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to buy and you don't know how to run a criteria, right, you're going to get caught. You're going to get caught.
right.
Because here's what I told Sal too. I said, hey, because, Sal's very analytical, right? I'm the aggressive one,
Yeah.
And it makes a good balance, right? But anyway, I told him, I said, hey, brother, listen, no matter what's going on in the country, nobody's ever going to stop buying homes. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Like no one's ever, even if, example, they call it a list of pending ratio, right? Even if your list of pending ratio is 30% in a neighborhood, that means that for every 10 listings, 3 of them are being sold, right? I said, if you buy right, you will be one of those 3.
Bingo. That's it.
You will be one of those 3. What does that mean? That means that my ARV, it's super conservative, right? I'm pricing almost very similar to the properties that are not renovated. Mine is fully renovated.
That's right.
And I'm offering concessions.
You have a better product and a better price, so yours
That's
will
it.
sell.
Yeah.
That's how you win
The same
in a
location.
stagnant, flat market, even a buyer's market.
There's
You just bring a better product to the table.
There's a conversation that I have with people who we can't agree on pricing. A lot of times it's buyers, this was with sellers usually, but it also speaks to that. There is always a price. Even if the market is a complete wreck, there's a price for this flip, there's a price for this lot, whatever. There's always a price. So I'm talking to sellers, they say, well, I don't know what my price is. I say, okay, great. If I offered you $1, you would say, heck no, you might even hang up on me. If I offered you $7 million, you would say yes. So I believe there is a price, and I believe you know it, because it's not $1 and it's not $7 million. Can you be honest with me and tell me that price in the middle? Well, the point I'm getting at, other than like there is always a price, and that's how to get them there, is there is always a price. So even if the market is in shambles, someone's moving for a new job, someone's changing school districts for their kids, someone just had 3 more kids, they need to move a house. If you can get the right price for them, you will sell, even when things are messy.
Oh yeah. What are you seeing for 2026? Because here's you see it from both sides, right? You see the headlines of like 2026 real estate market is going to crash, right? Collapse is on its way. You see that 50% of the time, and the other 50% are like 2026, right? The investors are going to win massively, and the feds are dropping their rates, and right, you see it from both sides, right? And then what I recently saw is that the feds dropped the rate again. They've been dropping and dropping and dropping. Now I think we're around 6.04, right? And I think they're going to drop it again. And I believe, see, here's what happened, by the way. When they dropped it to 6.04 earlier this month, my most expensive flip, right, sold within a day.
Wow.
So we saw that instant boom. Even though December historically, right, relatively is one of the slower months in real estate.
Yeah.
Right. So this is what I presume, right? And I'm not Nostradamus. I'm not the real estate Nostradamus or anything, but right. But in 2026,
like
in January, if the feds drop the rates again and we go below 6%, I believe you're going to see a lot of movement from the people that have kind of been waiting on the sidelines with the pre-approvals. You know what I mean? I think that there's going to be so many people to jump in and buy. What do you think?
There's that. And also there's a 6.0 something right now. The moment it gets below 5, it's a big change in people's mind. It's meaningful. It's like Walmart prices stuff at $3.99.
Yeah.
You mean the moment it gets below 6?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. When it gets below 6,
Yes.
it's in the 5s.
Yeah.
Boom.
So in their mind, it's 5.0, not 6.0. I do think that matters.
That's
I
right.
absolutely
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Psychology.
Yeah, 5.99 is 5 in someone's head, not 6.
That's right.
Which it's really 6.
And economics start to get better. When interest rates are in 6s and 7s, it's just interest is expensive. It's starting to get to the point where people are saying, okay, I'm accustomed to these new higher prices of the houses. Okay, interest rates are finally coming down. I've been waiting 2 years. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
So the presidential administration, the Fed, all their jobs are to like make the economy better. They want to do it because it makes them look good too. So I think they're working at it.
Even here in Arizona, I recently just read that they're starting to be a little bit more lax on some of the permitting for these new builds and
To
stuff
get things to roll.
to get things to roll. So they're going to start to allow
That's
these.
what I think happens over all this time when things are just tougher and tougher. Everybody eases up. The permit desk, the municipalities, the federal guys, everyone starts to ease to the point where it breaks because it's tougher when the economy's bad. When it gets better, it's good for all of us. President looks better, works better for you, me.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm also seeing in the real estate space. It almost looks like wholesaling specifically. Seems like wholesaling is dead. Like wholesaling is stagnant. I don't know why, but I'm not seeing people win the way that they used to. Yeah, you got a couple guys that they're claiming to be winning massively in wholesale, but the reality is, I talk to a lot of the top investors in across the country, and wholesaling is not their go-to anymore. A lot of them are novating nationwide, right? But the novation, in my opinion, put a lot of people in a tough spot too. I'll tell you why I believe that, right? So now that there's enough volume of novations, right? Novations is no longer something obscure that nobody knows, right? But people are starting to get it. And 5 years ago, novations were like, what is that? Kind of like the niche that you do, right? Or creative financing, right? Well, here's what I've seen. People started novating massively, and it started to push the wholesalers out of business, because when you do a novation, you're offering 20 or 30 grand more than the wholesaler, right?
Yeah.
But then on the flipping side,
Because you can get to market.
exactly.
Yeah.
But then on the flipping side, they're listing $20,000 to $30,000 below everybody else in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You see how it appears that the only person that's really winning is the novator. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, you can say, as a secondary, well, the seller's winning too because they're getting more money than the wholesale.
Fair.
But are they? Because they're running them through a traditional listing almost. You get what I'm saying? Like a novation is, hey, I'm taking your property and you're giving us the power to list it, to transact it for you.
It's like creating another middleman, because originally the real estate agent is the middleman, right? And now you're the middleman to the middleman.
It's funny because the seller doesn't know, right? That at the end of the day, you're kind of just listing your property for 20 or 30K below everybody else. That's what the novator is doing for you. Think about it, right?
Right. So it does put more money in the seller's pocket. One positive thing is it gets a seller to the market that they would have never gotten to themselves because they're afraid, because they're terrified of realtors and all the things.
For sure.
So an operator who's good at that does do better for the seller. They make more room for themselves, and they bring a product. So for us, we would never wholesale. We would always figure out how to pay for it and bring it to MLS, whether it needed a remodel or not. It was always worth more on MLS.
But you did it different. You bought it and then you listed it.
Well, now you don't have to.
Yeah.
But what that's doing, in effect, all the things you're saying and I'm saying, is it's squeezing out a guy who's wholesaling a contract.
sure.
Yeah,
It's getting
true,
that
true.
much tougher.
For sure.
It is. I even
So the
talked
question you,
Oh, go ahead. So I even talked to some. I was talking to an investor yesterday out in California, and he was saying the same thing. He was like, yeah, I can't buy from, he was in Texas. He's like, I can't buy from any of these big wholesale companies like, New Western or Keegley, things like that. He was like, I'm getting all my deals from small wholesalers, mom and pop or operations that are doing maybe one deal every other month or something.
That's
like
right,
that.
yeah.
So
they don't have overhead, they don't have all this stuff. They
Yeah.
can afford to do that.
Yeah, true.
Well, a lot of people now are getting their deals directly from agents.
Yeah, that too.
This is a product of a market that's changed, and everybody in it has to behave differently.
Yeah.
And you have this situation where humans do the same thing as water, the path of least resistance. It all changes up, and it kind of decentralizes.
Well,
so I
like
think
you said,
it's good.
like you said earlier, right? If you're in the real estate game, you are now officially earning a living.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're actually having to work, right, to make some money in real estate now, right?
Yeah. So to answer your question, is
yeah.
wholesaling dead? If it's not dead, it's dying. And I don't want to be in a place where I'm breathing through a straw. Like that's a tough place to be.
For sure.
Yeah.
So you either better figure, there are very few people that are killing it out there in wholesaling. Very few. They're experts, are really good. Outside of that, you got to change up something. Otherwise, it's going to be tough.
But that's why it's good to develop, right, these unique skill sets.
Yeah.
Like creative financing or fixing and flipping, and raising capital, right? Or in your case, how to find like deeply distressed properties. If again, it's just more tools for the tool belt, right?
Yep.
And circling that back around to your event, right? What specific tools are you hoping to teach every single attendee that attends your event?
So basically all of the techniques and tactics step by step through our business model.
Like how to find a super deeply distressed property?
Our agenda has been built on the process. So the very first thing is you got to figure out what's a lead.
Got it.
We explain what a lead is, where to find a lead, how to filter these things, how to research them, how to target the right people of those leads, because a lot of them we don't want to call because they're not the right situation. Those are the ones that are getting skip traced by wholesalers. We want the ones that are getting missed by skip tracing. So we figure out, we share exactly how to call them. Then you got to figure out, how do I make this offer? Seller psychology, go through scripting on that. It's the entire process of getting all the way to having a contract on this and what are the title problems and how do you fix them? I've got two of my attorneys that are coming. They both have a 45-minute segment about the major problems and how to fix them. And then the differences between probate and non-probate states, because that matters across the United States. It's a big law difference. So we go through all of that. And then, of course, I spend some time talking about a business model. Do you want to do a small lifestyle business? It's your business and you have one person helping you? Or do you want to build like an office of 25 people like we have? Yeah. That's not the right answer for everybody. So we talk about what is it you really want out of this? And then this is how to do it.
That's what I love about your business model. Your business model is, it's like the ideal situation. It's you make a lot of money and it doesn't require a lot of transactions and it doesn't require a lot of people, right? What do you think your average deal size is this year?
I'll give you a good example. So the way I've organized my business, I have 5 partners or 5 businesses in that office, and each guy I've trained and capitalized, and they built their business with people with them. One of the smaller ones is just one guy. He's got 2 people working with him. They did 17 deals last year.
Last year or this year?
No, I haven't completed his financials
okay.
This year. It was last year. He did 17 deals, and it was like 17. It was just about $2 million in net. So he ended up with like $110,000 net per deal. But think about 17 deals. That's like 1.2 deals a month. That sounds like really low volume, right? Well, he shows up at the office at 8 o'clock. He takes long lunches whenever he wants. Sometimes he doesn't work on Fridays. He goes home at 4. He is not he's the least stressed dude in our office. That's a lifestyle business.
Yeah.
Amen.
But the dude can he can pay the taxes of all that earned money. He can distribute a good living, couple $100,000 to all the partners that me and my partner and him that own that. And then he retains $500,000 or $1 million a year in that business to grow his base. Dude, that's with him and 2 people.
Yeah. It's a good living.
Yeah. So that means his average transaction size for net profit's a little over $100,000, and his sales price is about $200,000 a piece. Those are low price properties.
Well, think about it.
Everywhere.
Wow. Think about it this way, right? If you're a wholesaler in Arizona, okay, and your average wholesale fee is $17,500, all right? $17,500. You have to do 57 deals next year to hit $1 million. That means that you have to do about 5 deals a month to hit $1 million in gross revenue. Now, with the business model that you guys teach, right? Let's just say let's just go conservative, 85 grand. 85 grand average deal size. Would you want to go 85?
I'd say 50 to 80, 50 to 100, depending on your market. And
okay, then we got to say 75.
Fair.
Got it. So if I want to do $1 million with your business model that you're going to teach at your event next month, right? All I need to do is 13 deals next year to hit $1 million.
Let me say only 10 deals. And the reason I say that is if you're out there looking for these, you will always once a year find the deal that you spend 60 grand and make 400 on or 300 on. Those always happen when you're out there looking.
There it is.
So that's why you don't have to do that many. You got to do 10.
There it is. I love it.
Sign me up.
Yeah. Right. With that being said, can you tell us again, where and when and how can people get to your event?
Grand Hyatt in Scottsdale, January 31st, 2026. Now we do have a live stream version. So we invested pretty heavily to do a really good live stream. So folks can interact if they're at home, if they have a scheduling conflict or just they don't want to do the travel, they can participate from home. So they get 8 full hours of training. We do have a VIP which includes a second day, which you're going to be part of that day. That day outside of the outline we've talked about, that day is we do talk about a lot of business ideology because people have to understand who are they, where they're going. They see these guys building a big business or small business and they're impressed with this. Well, let's help you figure out what it is you really need.
Yeah.
The second half of that day is we break out into 3 groups, and it's newbies, intermediate, and experienced. And we coach them with 2 separate groups for the rest of that day, another 4 hours or so. So if you can't make it in person, that's a great option, the virtual or the live stream. But if you go to loganfullmer.com or any of my Instagram, social media pages, the links are everywhere right now.
Beautiful.
Everywhere. Oh, and
Beautiful.
at the end of the day, it's the same price as 2 nights out on the town or a nice pair of shoes.
Yeah.
You will have shoes in your closet right now that you bought last year that you spent that much on and you don't even care about, you don't even wear, and you will never wear, and you're probably going to donate them.
Yep.
For the same price of those pair of shoes, you can go figure out if your life needs to change or not.
And the way that what I always say is, you will always be your best investment. So you should constantly be investing in yourself for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? Right.
I hear people say, "Oh, you're in real estate making all this money. Why do you do coaching?" Well, I'll tell you why. We have a great business. We've also figured out how to do good and make a lot of money adding a business line. And I think it's their turn.
It's very fulfilling. Very fulfilling. Well, brother, thank you so much for joining us today, man. It's been a treat again.
No doubt.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Got
you.
it.
All right.